So, we're going to discuss a little bit more about the H2Bs today. It's front and center for everyone who's dealing within the industry, the likes of ourselves recruiting for country clubs or even the country clubs over there, or for people looking at it. People want to be starting to figure out whether it is or isn't for them. Because once the interview season starts, which is normally that first or second week in July, it tends to be pretty full on and hectic, and all of a sudden, all the places are gone and people have just missed out.
Yeah, it really is a small window of time, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. We host two Zoom info sessions on Tuesdays and Thursdays, share some insights, some tips, bit of a idea about the timeline and the process and what people are going to have to go through to actually get on a plane in October. And then even at that sort of what are going to be some of the things that will maybe allow you have a very good experience or get you sent home. But unfortunately for the Irish and the UK, it's typically that always revolves around the ability to control and curtail your partying. I suppose people's understanding of what it is they're actually applying to do and not like what's the job, because there we've covered those: food and beverage, rec aid, leisure aid, beach aid, or culinary or hostess. But it more, what's the difference for somebody who's been there? Maybe you can really shed some light on this one. What's the difference between working in a country club and working in even a high-end five-star golf resort in Ireland or the UK?
A lot. And there's a lot of difference between working in a country club and a high end golf resort in Ireland because there are higher standards as well. Your clientele, they're not customers, they're not guests, they're actually members a lot of the times. The people who are coming into the restaurant every day, they also live there on property or close to property, and that's their clubhouse, that's their home that you're essentially working in an extension of their home. The members are paying quite high fees year round to be able to have that restaurant or be able to have that club. So those standards are higher that the members also want to make sure their money's being put to good use, I'm sure, and that they are getting good employees coming in. There's also a lot of lingo difference to learn as well, just in general, working in America. Like Arnold Palmer's, for example, it's tea and lemonade, or different drinks and different food that you have to learn as well. But yeah, I would just say it is slightly higher standards than working in any restaurant or golf club. More is expected from you, but there is an opportunity to grow more as well.
And when we talk about the higher standards, people sometimes get worried or nervous or concerned, afraid. They're like, oh my God, what are these
I
expectations?
would just say conducting yourself more professionally, making sure you're professionally dressed, you're addressing people professionally. A lot of clubs like the staff to use the terms sir and madam when talking to guests. So just approaching people in a more professional manner, making sure that you're not slouching over your phone while you're working. A lot of the times, no, there's a no phone rule while you're working, whereas at home or in a restaurant, you might be used to sneaking away every few moments and it's a corner of the floor and being on your phone or having a sip of your water or chatting casually to the guests. So that doesn't happen as much. There is a break room. There's more of a structure to where you can go to drink your water, where you can go to eat your food, where you can go to have your small talk with your coworkers. But the professional setting is not doing that in front of the members, doing that behind the scenes, and then conducting yourself in a professional manner when you are.
Sounds like the hospitality industry that I was trained in Ireland. I did my hotel management degree through the New Park Hotel here in Kilkenny in Ireland, which at the time was owned by Bobby Kerr Sr. And he very much gave us hands on practical training as well as classroom training. You definitely never gathered in groups in front of guests. You definitely never spoke loud in front of guests. You definitely never talked back and forth in front of customers from the bar to the floor. I would come up to you, and if I had something I needed to say to you, I would say it to you nice and quietly, and only you could hear it. What goes on within work doesn't need to be shared with the guests. And that sometimes, if you were more focused on your guests and spending less time huddled, chatting, and looking at your phone, you might probably get a better tip in as well. So for me, that was the way I always operated as I was setting up bars and restaurants or training people in the hospitality industry. It sounds like something trained from day one in the country clubs. They provide you with the tools and the information to be able to deliver this amazing level of service that their members are expecting.
Yeah, like you do day one when you get to the club. In my experience, unpacked. Next day, you're in work and you're training. So, as daunting as it may sound, that there is going to be a higher level of professionalism expected from you or than you're used to. It's just something to keep in mind in the back of your head. And it is all taught to you. Like you're taught not only how to do your job, but how to present yourself, what's expected of you. You'll be told what areas you can even go to or what areas you can have your downtime in at work to socialize and do etc. And when you have to be on the floor doing your job. A lot of clubs have classroom training where you're sitting down where you're learning. Then you have shadowing training where you're shadowing someone who is already, if you are training to be a server, you're going to be shadowing another server. If you're training to be a cook, you're going to be shadowing another cook. And it's then when that person usually will help you out and give you those cheat sheets or give you those cheat codes that do help. Like questions that are most commonly asked from guests, like what is in the braised chicken risotto, or what is a Manhattan, or what is an Arnold Palmer.
One of the other questions we get asked a lot is what are the sort of costs? What comes out of your wages? What do you have to pay for? What's the cost of living like over in Florida?
So there's a lot of factors to take into the cost of living, and I think that is a big influence that employees have when they are choosing where they want to work. There's a lot of reasons why employees come over to work, whether it is that they want to earn more money and bring that home to their family, whether it is that they want to work in the States and gain some more experience, or whether they want to have an adventure and don't care so much about the money of what they're earning, but they will maybe care more about the lifestyle that they're going to have as well. So I would say some deductions that come out of your paycheck would be your transport, your rent, and your taxes or whatever else tax wise may come out of your paycheck. Um, Now I know the wage can
And then
vary for each club that you work for as well. What am I expected to earn, or what is the general hourly wage that I can get? And I know, what have you seen that would be a general wage for people?
yeah, it varies every year. I think it's one of the great things about the H2B is that it's very much dictated and determined by Department of Labour, and they have a figure that they're happy for people to earn, either based off of tips are being included or tips are not being included. They want to make sure that anyone coming over has what they deem enough money to be able to survive and live on over the period of their 8 months. One of the things that we get asked quite a lot of though is how much money would somebody need to bring over with them, and how much money would you spend on an average week? Like, how much would you spend if you were going out for a night for a bite to eat and some drinks with your colleagues? What's the cost of the social scene?
That's a great question. I would say it's important to have about $1,000 with you when you do start the visa, because you may have already paid for your Garda clearance or for your visa, and that will be reimbursed in your paycheck. But you're also not going to get paid for 2 weeks, or there may be a bye week in there, so it may even be 3 weeks or close to a month by the time you're getting a significant amount of money in your paycheck. Your training wage may even be a little different to what your full-time wage is going to be. So, but I would say have 1,000, because there is things that you do need to buy.
You're the one who's been there and done it, so I would say you would definitely know what people need to bring with them more than I would. I know when I go over for my 5 or 6 weeks, it's golf clubs, shorts, and t-shirts, and I'm going to the sun, and maybe a suit and a couple of shirts for work. But I'm not packing to move over there for 8 months. We typically say to people, pack as if you're going away for a 2 week summer vacation. And then if you need to, you can easily buy stuff over there because clothes tend to be a lot cheaper over in the States than what they are here in Europe. And you really don't need a huge amount because you are working quite a lot and you've got your uniform at work and maybe a pair or two of jeans, not 12, and maybe like a hoodie or a jumper. And ideally, some sort of a formal outfit because you typically do have one or two formal events that you'll have to go to at the club. But a lot of people told me, returners who go year after year, I literally pack as little as possible and I treat myself to some new clothes over the course of the 8 months and I've got a new wardrobe coming home. The other thing we always say to people is toiletries can be quite expensive over there, so ideally bring those over with you. But yeah, don't be like some of the people who I meet at the airports in October and they've 45 kgs packed into a 23 kg bag. And I'm like, you're definitely not getting that on the plane.
Yeah, I have made that mistake of from adding another suitcase and adding a new suitcase. And at one point, I had three suitcases. I'm
Yeah.
sure you can't imagine how one person carries three suitcases. I can't imagine how or remember how even I did it in the airport, but that was definitely a headache. So I would say stick to the one suitcase. I didn't need the fancy outfits, the heels, all the stuff that you usually wear when you're going out in Ireland or the UK. Florida is
Yeah.
definitely, especially if you're going to Florida first, a lot more casual. People go out in flip flops, sneakers, and shorts.
What else have you noticed living there?
Toiletries, cleaning products, and other household items can definitely be expensive. That may cost €2 or €3 in Ireland, could be 10. Cleaning products are more expensive, all of that kind of stuff. So I'd say more household items. But the thing is, you're only there for 8 months, and a lot of the time you can come together with your roommates and all chip in a portion, which I've done in the
Yeah.
past, where we said, okay, let's make a budget here, let's do $100, let's all chip in 20, and we'll get all these items for our apartment. The expenses, I was able to save a lot of money, even on my first season, where at the end of the day, after all of my deductions, my rent and taxes, I was not left over with a huge amount of money, but I was still able to save a lot of it because I kept my budget very low. So I was fed every day at work, and all I needed money for was food on my day off. So after all of your basic needs are taken care of, the rest of that money in your paycheck is yours to do what you want to do with it, whether you want to save with it. So I would say even if you don't earn a lot of money, you're still able to save.
What do you recommend for people who are going over there with their mobile phone? What's the best advice there?
Get a SIM card over there. I did have a phone for the rest of my 2.5 years on the visa, and it made the world of difference. You can get a SIM card over here from anywhere between $30 and $50, which I know is a little more expensive than maybe the Ireland or UK, but it's definitely worth it because you will need a phone. You're going to want to contact people. You're going to want to call Ubers if you want to transport yourself and go to different places. A couple of the networks that you can choose to be like Verizon or AT&T, or there's so many different providers over here. I know one of the cheapest ones I was on was Mint Mobile, and they actually have a 3 month plan or a 6 month plan. It was only, let's say, I think 20 a month for that plan. But there's so many different plans that you can go for over here, and I would say just get together with a couple of your roommates, and you can always go to a store and get that SIM card set up for you. They can do it for you all within the store as well. Or if you did want to go a little bit cheaper, you could go for that Mint Mobile and do that online and get an eSIM delivered to you by email.
Let's say you're going out for a bite to eat with a couple of your workmates and a couple of drinks. Could you spend $50?
So a lot of us actually didn't spend a whole lot of money out. Reason because we're already living with six people in your apartment. So to have a drink or two at home, not a big deal. It's easy to do. So if you have a drink or two before you go out, and then you just need to have one or two drinks. So you could be saving a lot of money. A drink on average where I was in Florida was about $10, which is, but you can really make the night as cheap or as expensive as you want it to be. Are you going out and ordering a beer or a vodka cranberry, or are you going out and getting the specialty cocktail on the menu? That's going to make a difference. You can get your specialty cocktail at home and go out and drink the cheaper things. But I would say, yeah, if you're going out for dinner, one person, you can do anywhere between $20 and $50 for your meal and for a couple of drinks. And obviously that depends on what you order. Food can be quite expensive, $30 in a lot of restaurants, but there are a lot of places that do Taco Tuesday in Florida, have all these deals, so you can always avail of them as well.
While we're on that conversation of money and expenses and stuff, one of the areas I always try and highly recommend to people, and I'm interested in your take on it, is that first 2 months of November and December is when the club is going to be at its busiest and when you're going to have the most opportunities to pick up overtime and to bank that time and a half on every hour you work. And then all of a sudden, you've got a nice little balance in your bank account to go out and socialize in January, February, March, April, and May. Would that be a fair assumption, or what do you generally see happening over there?
I would say that's the smartest way to do it because the busiest time is going to be around the holidays, especially December into January, and then it will pick up again. So take advantage of when it's at the peak, when it is the busiest, when you're needed the most, and when that overtime is offered to you, because it's not going to be offered the whole season. Towards the end of the season, when it does start to slow down, there may not be as many hours going for you. So I would say when they are there, take them, especially if you do want to earn some money or have some savings. If you plan on like coming home or if you plan on adventuring on to another season, it's beneficial to have a bit of money behind you. If you have that money saved within the first couple of months and put that aside, and then anything else you get, you can use for spending money and you don't have to worry about having that cushion of money behind you.
Nice. That sort of leads me into holidays. Can I go and travel? Can I take 2 weeks unpaid vacation? And I always advise and suggest with a H2B, you don't actually get holidays.
What I did is I asked the club, listen, I would like to have like be able to do this on the season. When is a good time for me to be able to take these days off? And they said, not yet. Like, give it a couple of months, it's going to slow down and you'll be able to go. So, my friend actually wanted to take me to New York for a few days on my first season. I also had family coming to visit that I wanted a couple of days off for. And I also did have a goal of wanting to go down to Miami for a couple of days. So I already had in mind a couple of things that I wanted to do. Now I was trying to get a week and I was told a week is a little too much. What we can do is for you, we can do 5 days. We can put your 2 days off together from this week and we can give you an extra day. That was perfect. That was more than enough time actually for me to be able to do that. I was given enough time in advance to be able to make my plans and arrangements as well. When my family came to visit, I was still able to spend a lot of time with them. I think I had 2 or 3 days off and was working the other days because I still have time. I did want to travel a little more, which is not possible throughout the seasons. What I did is I spoke to my current club and my next club, which I wanted to work in next, and organized an end date and a start date because obviously you have the end date of your contract and then the club wants a start date for you as well. So if possible, you could always find a couple of days in between getting from point A to point B to explore somewhere else in between your journey.
Yeah, I notice we always have a lot of people each year, especially maybe not first year, but definitely second year people who, when they're finishing up their winter season, will elect to drive to their summer camp.
Yeah,
And like that, they'll take 4 or 5 days and they'll drive up and they'll stop along the way and they get a bit of downtime, but they also get to see a little bit more of the States as well. The more you tell us what it is you want to know or you want to find out, the more we can provide this information and these answers to you. I think you've got a pretty good resource here in somebody who's been in the States, worked in the States, managed in the States, now recruiting for country clubs in the States, and can really give you all the insights and tips and information to make it a fabulous experience, or maybe point you in the right direction to where you won't make some of the mistakes that she sees happen year in and year out with people who go over there.
likewise.